I don't know if you can see anything. It's really dark. There's no light. We had major, well, in my opinion, a major earthquake. And I was at school. I just got home. And this is what my apartment looks like. It wasn't that clean before, but, like, my shelves are, everything's now on the ground. And you can't see because the electricity's not working, but in the kitchen, all my dishes and things were on the shelf. They're now in pieces on the floor. And yeah, that was really, really scary. So my apartment after, okay, it's the day after the earthquake hit, but it's light now so you can see everything on my shelf pretty much fell down to the floor. My bowls are broken, or my plates and everything. All the stuff that was in here fell in the sink. And yeah, but I'm gonna clean it now while I still can, while there's still light. And I went to the grocery store, and they were still selling food and drinks and things. So I was able to get enough food and drink for a couple of days, even if I don't have power. And I think it's still fairly cold enough that the stuff in my fridge will be okay for maybe another day. So now we start to clean up. Hey, hello from Japan, 2 weeks after the major earthquake. I just wanted to make a quick video and tell you about my story, what happened while I was here. I am located in Hitachi, Ibaraki Prefecture, which is on the eastern coast. I was at school during the time, but I wasn't in class. I was down in the teacher's room. So when the first earthquake hit, everything shook, but we didn't need to go outside. It shook for a long time. The power went out almost immediately, so it was really hard to see what was actually happening. We didn't know how strong it was or what had happened or anything like that. But then it stopped, and so we thought things were just going to go back to normal, because we actually get earthquakes quite a bit here. They're usually very small, and they usually last maybe 10 seconds, whereas this one lasted maybe 10 minutes. But then, almost immediately, the second earthquake hit, and it was much closer to us, and so we felt it a bit more. I think they said here it was at least a magnitude 7, which is not good. So we took the students outside, and we waited outside for the shaking to stop. Some students were really scared and were crying, and but other students thought it was the greatest thing ever because they got to miss class. When I finally got home, the power was still off. Water was off as well. Nothing was working. My things were all over the place. Plates and dishes were broken. All my books were on the floor. It was a huge mess. Luckily, I had my Kindle with me and was able to update my Twitter and email my family, let them know I was okay. Otherwise, nobody would have known where I was for at least 2 or 3 days. It was not good. And so, long story short, we had no power for 2 days, and my city had no water for about a week. But I left and went to Tokyo after 3 days so that I could get some water and so I could get a little bit further, because Hitachi is about 100 kilometers south of the Fukushima nuclear plant. So it wasn't a good idea to stay here for very long because things were getting really scary. Because we also live near Tokai, where there is a nuclear plant, and it was starting to leak some radiation. So we went to Tokyo and we stayed there for about a week. Okay, in order to get to Tokyo, because the trains were down, I split a taxi with one other person. There were 3 other people that went, but because there were too many people, we had to take 2 taxis. So we split a taxi to Mito, and that cost roughly $100, whereas normally it costs about $5 by train. And then from Mito, we took a bus to Tsukuba, and then from Tsukuba, we were able to take the train to Tokyo. Once we were in Tokyo, it was really strange because it was like nothing had happened. Aside from the rolling blackouts, life in Tokyo seemed pretty much the same. There wasn't like any panics for food. There wasn't any complete shortages. Restaurants were still running. And food was not difficult to find at all. It was not as dire as I think the news was portraying it. However, all during this time, I didn't really know much of what was going on because I didn't have access. I didn't watch the American news. I could only watch the Japanese news, and my Japanese is not that great. I could only pick out the important words. Like I could find out what was safe and if I knew the words for evacuation and things like that. Anyways, that's why we went to Tokyo and how we got there. It was a bit of a trek. Normally it takes about 2.5 hours and costs maybe $22, maybe closer to $25. But this time it took roughly 6 hours and cost somewhere around $130, roughly. I don't know. I just did the math in my head. I'm not good with math. But it was worth it because it didn't shake near so much there. And there was water, so we could bathe, which was nice. So, yeah. So I stayed in Tokyo for about a week, had water, which was great. Then I had to come back to Hitachi because I was scheduled to leave the country because my contract is up. And so that's where I am right now. I finished packing and I leave tomorrow. But the state of Hitachi right now, things are pretty much getting back to normal. There's still a bit of a food shortage. It's hard. You don't really see a lot of bread in the convenience stores or a lot of the good drinks that people like. There's not a lot. But there is enough for everyone. It's not like there's any panic. It's not like anyone's going hungry. The biggest problem is the trains are still down because our line runs up to Iwaki and goes all the way up to Sendai. And of course, there's no power to run the trains and it's dangerous, and so we have no trains. Everything's run on buses right now. So that's about it. The most damage, you can see I'm at a shrine near Hitachi Station. There's a little bit of damage here. And there's a few buildings with like broken windows or things like that, and a lot of the garden walls that surround the houses fell down, but that's really about it. But yeah, that's pretty much my story with the earthquake.